What's up guys, Andrew here and welcome to the video. Today we are going to be reviewing the 360 robot vacuum cleaner S7 Pro. Roll the intro. Alright. This is a mopping robot, which is what this thing is for. You put this down by your charger and this kind of stops any water from going onto your flooring and ruining it. Alright, here we go. Now one thing I did notice is that everything is labeled with like very specific directions. I don't know if you can see that, but everything has its own label on it with its own directions, which is awesome. This just says, please peel this off before application, remove these before use. We'll get to that in a minute. It says, please open the package and take out the charging dock and charger. It's pretty cool that they have that on everything. Look at this. Packaging without plastic wrap on it? Okay, I'll come clean. I already unboxed this once. I did it. Couldn't help myself. I did want to get it charged up so it was ready for this first look here. So here's the charging dock. Pretty standard for most robot vacuums. Once again, detailed instructions on the front there. And here is the mopping pad. But this is basically a water tank and it soaks into this pad here and then just mops. So it doesn't actually spray as far as I'm aware. It just kind of soaks into this pad and then it mops it up. Something to keep in mind there. Not the best design, if you ask me. Underneath this lid here is the dustbin. It is a pretty good size, so we'll definitely trap a lot. And here's a nice little tool. It's got a little cutting blade on there as well as brushes to clean up your brushes. It has a singular side brush for sweeping into the main chamber here. We have our drop sensors along the edges, and here's our side infrared sensor, front infrared sensor. That appears to be it. All right, so I did set this vacuum up earlier. I just downloaded the 360 Smart app and registered for an account and clicked the S7 Pro, and it was really easy to install. And just like a typical smart home product, it broadcasted its own Wi-Fi network. It connected to my 2.4/5 gigahertz dual band router, no issues at all. It only took about 30 seconds or so, and it restarted and connected right up. So setup process went very smoothly. So I'm going to test this out for a couple weeks. For me, for you, it'll just be a couple seconds. And we are back. Now, right off the bat, I have to tell you guys that this thing sucks. It sucks pretty well, actually. Now, before I get into how badly or well this thing sucks, I do want to mention real quick that I have joined the YouTube membership program, which it is the join button just below the like button down there. And it allows you to support the channel. And in return, there are some pretty cool perks. There are some cool things that I'm offering extra to you guys. And that is a good way for you to help support me if you are interested. I'm still going to have the same free videos here on YouTube. None of that's going to change. There'll be some early access to videos and some other exclusive content like that. But if you don't want to, that's totally fine. I appreciate you watching anyway. I think the best way to explain how it works is just to go through some of the features. Now that circular thing on top of it is the LiDAR scanner, and I was really impressed with how fast it maps out the room. It mapped out this small room that I'm in now in a matter of seconds just by scanning the entire room. Obviously, if there's obstacles, it's going to have to go wait till it vacuums around that. But it shows you in real time in the app where it's at in the room and the whole room as a whole. Now you do have to start it manually in the app while it's on the charger and let it finish the entire cleaning of your floor, and then let it return to the charger until you can get a full floor plan and you can actually select different rooms that you want. I'll get into more of that in just a little bit. Now, like I said, you have to let it do its cleaning on your floor, and this thing actually supports up to 10 floors. I'm not sure how many people have 10-story houses around here that's going to physically move the robot between different floors, but it does support up to 10. I have it set for my basement and my upstairs as 2 different floors, but I primarily am using it upstairs, which is primarily hardwood. It performs better on hardwood than my other robot vacuum, so that one is staying down here. Now, speaking of the carpet, it does have carpet detection, so if you have it on the quiet or standard setting, it will automatically jump up one setting, whether that be quiet to standard or standard to powerful or powerful to max. It will jump up one setting if it detects carpet, and it does work great. Every time it hops onto one of the rugs or into one of the bedrooms upstairs, you can hear it bump up, and it does turn up the suction a little bit more to really help out with the carpet. So that is definitely a nice bonus that I was not expecting. Now, the brush underneath actually moves with the floor if there is an unevenness in the floor. If it's going up on a rug so it doesn't miss that threshold area there, it actually works really well to make sure the brush stays down and that suction is allowed to get anything that might be on the edge of that carpet, whereas other vacuums that I've tried in the past leave a line of dirt or hair or something along that rug. So that's another nice bonus. Now, moving on from the brush itself, this thing does have a tangle detection, where if it's tangled up in a cord or some kind of wire or maybe a fray from a rug or a carpet, it actually detects that and it will reverse the motor and try to get itself unstuck. Now, I tried to duplicate this a few different times and I could not get it stuck. It has gotten stuck before, don't get me wrong. It got stuck underneath my computer desk, and there was a mess of cables. I totally forgot to clean that up after digging some out of a drawer last week, but it got stuck and it did not get itself unstuck. I tried duplicating that with another cord and it did get itself unstuck one time, and the other time it got stuck and it just kept going, and if I was a lamp, it would have definitely knocked me over. So best practice would be to clean everything up around the house and make sure there's nothing breakable that could be knocked over. Maybe not a lamp, but something light that is attached to a cord, maybe a phone that's plugged in or something like that. It could probably pull that around a little bit as it's moving along. And going along with that, this does not give up easily as far as getting stuck. It really tries to get unstuck. My NoGo D5 gives up really easily. If it gets stuck, it's like, oh well, come and save me. This one, it took like 15-20 minutes stuck under that computer desk, just really trying to get unstuck. It didn't mangle any of the cables up. I would imagine it was running the brush and then it ran it backwards, trying to get it unstuck. As far as the different suction modes, there's 4 of them. It's quiet, standard, powerful, and max. I found standard to be the sweet spot if you are cleaning while someone else is home, or if you're home and it's just kind of doing its thing around the house. It's not too loud to, watch TV or talk to someone next to you. Powerful is better if you're cleaning another side of the house. I'll get to that in just a little bit, how you can select different parts of your house to clean. And max mode is best if you're not going to be home. It is super loud, but it does the best job, obviously. So if you are not going to be home, definitely set it to max mode. If you're going to be home, it's definitely too loud to have while you're in the same room. So what I've been doing is when we're not home, I set it to max mode, and it almost can complete the whole upper level on one battery charge, and this thing does go back to the charger, charge itself all the way, and then it will go back and finish where it left off. So you don't have to worry about it not making it through the house. You just have to factor in that charge time if you're going to be home in that window. But if you're going to be home or gone for like an 8-hour work shift or whatever, that's plenty of time for it to go out, do its thing, charge, and then finish before you get home. So the mopping feature works okay. It's not the best mop or the best system I've ever seen. It does soak through that pad like I mentioned earlier, and it just kind of bleeds through that filter and into the pad itself, and then it kind of does its thing. I suggest pre-soaking that pad and then sliding it into the robot so it's already nice and wet, and then the remaining amount from the tank will disperse through and keep it nice and wet so it'll finish the mopping without running dry. Now, after a while it does run a little bit dry, but I noticed that in mopping mode it actually overlaps itself a little bit more than it does when it's vacuuming. So they must know that and added that into the software, so it does a better job of overlapping more and not missing any spots or as many spots. It's not great for picking up really stuck on messes or anything like that, but it did pick up this flower mess that I made in 2 passes. It took 2 passes, and the mopping pad was not even that dirty afterwards. So the vacuum did a good job of picking it up first when you set it to vacuum and mop mode. So when you combine the two and you have a little mess like that, it does work pretty well, and it would be good for like water spots and stuff like that and touch-ups here and there. So it's definitely usable and something I'll use probably once every week or 2. Oh, and speaking of the mopping, it is necessary to use NoGo Zones for vacuuming and mopping. And what that is, in the app, you can select areas after a floor plan has been created. In each room, you can set as many NoGo Zones. You can do virtual walls, but you can do NoGo Zones for vacuuming and or mopping. So when it's set to vacuum and mop mode, it knows that it cannot go to either one of those modes. So if it's set to just vacuum, it'll go ahead and go through those mopping no-go zones no problem. And for example, what I needed to do in my house was set the zones around my different area rugs and the rugs in the kitchen, because it cannot back up on a rug when there is the mopping attachment there. I originally thought, if the rugs get a little bit wet, it's not a big deal. It'll just maybe help clean them a little bit. But it doesn't work in the end. It'll eventually get stuck. So a downside to that is if it does need to pass over a rug in a hallway like here, it kind of is taking a chance of getting stuck. If it does need to back up on that rug for whatever reason, it really struggles backing up. So if you do have a rug and more hardwood floor on the other side like I do, just keep that in mind. You may not want to mop that area. I also have a no-go zone for mopping and vacuuming in my bathroom, and that's because it can't make it up this threshold. And that is a serious minus for me. My Neato BotVac had struggles getting up there, but it eventually got up there. So I can neither vacuum or mop the bathroom. I know it is a steeper threshold than what you would typically see, but that's because I have heated flooring, and then the mortar and the tile itself, it really is probably a good 1/4 inch thick. But anyways, that's just something to keep in mind if you have any thick thresholds like that. Moving right along to the next feature, the voice prompts. Oh man, was I surprised by these awesome voice prompts. They have voice prompts for everything, if that's something you're into. When it starts to charge, when it starts to work, when you take the dustbin out, when you put it back, on and on. Here's some examples.
Okay, I'm going to clean this area. Charging. The dustbin has been removed. The dustbin is back. I'm switching to mopping mode. The water tank has been removed. I'm exiting the mopping mode. The remote control is on.
But don't worry, you can change the volume of that if you want to turn it down, and you can also set do not disturb times where it will not say any voice prompts during that time, or turn the feature off completely. There's also 3 different languages which you can choose from. I thought it was kind of cool at first, but then it got really annoying quick, so I extended the do not disturb for most of the day and turned the volume down for the rest of the day. Okay, I know this video is running long. I'm going to really try to get through the rest of these features, and I'm going to jump into the app itself. Now, there are 3 main sections to the app, and that is the house section, the rooms, or sorry, it starts with rooms, then house, and then area. And that's the 3 tabs that you can see at the top. And starting with the rooms, you can create a cleaning plan, they call it, and it allows you to select which rooms you want to clean, at what power level, how many times you want to clean that room, and how many total rooms you want to do. So you could do 3 of the bedrooms at powerful mode if, let's say, you're on the other side of the house, or even max mode if you want. And then you can clean the hallway and the living room at standard mode if you're in that area. And you can clean, let's say, the kids' rooms, because you know they're always going to be a mess. You can clean those rooms twice, but the rest of them will only need it once. And that way it can do it all in one charge and then go back to the charger on its own. And you can leave the kitchen off, for example, if you were in that room or you know that it's already clean. So after I saw the rooms feature and being able to do that, that's a huge upgrade from the last vacuum that I had, and I use this all the time. Now moving over to the house feature, that is pretty self-explanatory. It'll clean the whole floor plan that it knows already, and even more if it finds maybe a closed closet that you didn't have the last time, it'll update that as needed. And on the bottom left, you can change which mode you want to clean in. That's with all of these different tabs. You can clean it in just vacuum, vacuum and mop, and just mop. I always leave it in vacuum and mop because it has a sensor and it knows when the mop is in place. So it will switch automatically to mop and vacuum if you go ahead and insert that mopping attachment. And finally, the area tab is my favorite tab. That is because you can draw a little box around what area you want to clean based on the floor plan of your house. So in my case, I know where the kitchen island is because it's this big L in the middle of the kitchen, and I know that just to the left of that is this square that I made that for testing. And it's super handy. If you know where a mess is in the floor, on the carpet, wherever, just one little spot, pull out your phone, draw a box in that area, hit clean, and it goes, cleans that area. You can have it clean it once or twice at whichever mode you want it to, and then it will go back to the charger. I have used this probably 20 times in the last 2 weeks. I use it all the time. It is an awesome feature. And speaking of that test area, I'm going to get to that at the end of the video on how it performed with different materials. So stay tuned for that. I promise we're getting there. We're almost there. So you can set schedules for this, and that's pretty standard. But one thing that I noticed was pretty cool was you can set schedules. You can set as many schedules as you want for different rooms of the house, for example. So I have it set at 5 a.m. to clean the living area of the house, the kitchen and living room. And that's, so the house is nice and clean before we get up. And then the rest is cleaned manually because my wife stays home and we don't have scheduled times where we're both gone or the whole house is gone. Many of you will probably have an empty house at scheduled times, so it's easy to schedule different rooms of the house to be cleaned when you are all gone without having to open up the app or push the button on the robot itself. So the RC feature is freaking awesome. You have this joystick on this thing. You can drive it anywhere you want. The kids love it. Let me just start off by saying that. Go into the app, you click RC, it tells you it's in RC mode. You drive it around. You don't even have to get up off your couch because the app shows you the map of your house. So you can drive it around different rooms of your house, clean up little messes. The first couple days, that's all I did. I drove around and cleaned up all these little messes, and my kids love it as well. As you can see, they just throw crumbs on the floor. They drive the thing around and go pick it up, and I can't be mad because they clean up after themselves. So after the first couple of days, though, I kind of stopped using it, and I use that area feature a lot more because it's a lot quicker. I don't have to do anything. I might as well just get out my other vacuum if I'm going to drive it around, but it's definitely a cool feature. So this thing does work with Alexa and Google Assistant. I renamed the vacuum to Angela because it's a female voice, and my other robot vacuum's name is Arthur for some reason, so it just seemed to fit well. So you just have to say, Alexa, turn on Angela, and it will do its whole house cleaning as it was previously preset. Also, as you know, it has drop sensors around the bottom, so that means it will not run off your set of stairs. If you have an open set of stairs, it won't fall down the stairs and break itself, which is obviously needed. But that means it also can't run along black carpet, but that goes for every robot vacuum out there. But this one in particular also can't go through light rays. If there are really bright light rays on the floor from the sun coming in through a window, it just cannot go through it. It has to find its way around it if it can. If it can't, it's just going to get stuck, which that has happened before. For whatever reason, my NoGo is able to go around those light rays just fine. So I'm not sure if it's some kind of optimization they need to work on there, but obviously closing your curtains will solve that. Also, the mopping feature doesn't work as great as I was hoping. Up against the wall, it doesn't get the 6 inches next to the wall, 4 to 6 inches. If I don't pre-soak the pad every time, or if it's towards the end of its cleaning path and it gets up against the wall, that 4 to 6 inches away from the wall, it just does not get. It doesn't get it wet at all. It's just not going to do an outstanding job and get everything nice and evenly mopped. All right, so the moment you have been waiting for, the vacuum test. And I do appreciate you guys for sticking around to this portion of the video. Now, I do have to mention that nothing got picked up 100% only doing one pass. It needs to have at least 2 passes, and the powerful setting seems to be the best for this mode. Now, the reason it didn't all get picked up in one pass, for example, on max setting with the coffee grounds, you would think that would be able to pick it up just fine, is because it actually turns off the suction after it finishes that area before it returns to the charger. So whatever is left in the brushes and is on its way up to the dustbin, when the suction is turned off, it leaves a trail of whatever is left behind. As you can see from this paper test, you can see a lot better on camera. It picks it up pretty well. This is on the powerful setting, and then it leaves a trail of paper behind it as it's returning to the charger. If it just would have kept the suction going, it would have probably kept most of it there. So unfortunately, I lost the footage for the test after doing the test again with the 2x pass, but I can assure you that all of the dog food was picked up and all of the coffee grounds were picked up except for a few coffee grounds that were swept away outside the zone with that side brush. So keep that in mind. If you do set an area, make sure you set it wider than the actual area of whatever or wherever the mess is. Set it a little bit wider because that brush will spin and knock stuff away just like it did with the dog food, as you can see here. Gone through one pass and then it was swept into the area that had already been passed over, and then it went to the charger and missed those 2 pieces, and that is because it was only set to 1 pass. 2 passes would have fixed that, no problem. Each test was done in all 4 stages except the dog food. I skipped the quiet setting because I knew that I wouldn't be able to pick it all up anyway. It went about as I expected. It's not perfect, it's not going to be perfect, but it did a pretty good job in all of the tests. I would say if you can stand it, set it to max mode. You're not going to go wrong there. But powerful mode is that sweet spot if you do have guests over or you're having a conversation or someone is trying to watch TV or something like that. Standard is best, but it's just not going to pick everything as much up as powerful will. Now, one final test I did was mopping with the vacuum in max mode with some flour on the floor. So I spilled about a teaspoon of flour or so on the floor in this zone, and I did 2 passes with the max mode vacuum and mopping, and it picked all the flour up, no issues. And I even turned it over to check and see how much dirt or flour was on the mop, and it was actually really clean. So it does pick up fine particles. The vacuum itself did not pick up all of the flour in the small cracks and stuff like that. So you did need the mop to pass behind it for really fine particles like that. So let's cover the price real quick. I don't know what the typical price is of this thing, but right now Amazon is showing it as $430 with a 22% discount at checkout, which will bring it to, oh, math on camera, $340 before tax or something like that. So sub $400 I would say is definitely worth it for this thing. I paid the same amount for my D5 2 years ago, so obviously times have changed, but this is packed with so many more features than that thing, and I believe it's definitely worth it under $400. And when you're talking another $60 off of that, I would say definitely jump on this if you guys are able to. It'd make a great Christmas gift, obviously, but that's up to you to decide. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it ran a little bit longer than usual. I just wanted to make sure I covered everything. So hope you enjoyed it. If you did, I would appreciate it if you would leave a like down below and consider subscribing. And I will see you guys in the next video.